Welcome back to the Relaxing Ghost channel here on YouTube. Today we have episode 26 of the Attitude Era review series, WWF Fully Loaded 1999. So this event took place July 25th, 1999, Buffalo, New York, at the Marine Midland Arena. So hopefully a few of you guys could join me here today for this next episode. So I'm going to have a few weeks off here in July, so hopefully we could get a few more of these done. Fully Loaded 1999, which featured a First Blood end of an era match between Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Undertaker. So if Austin wins, Mr. McMahon is going to be no longer involved in storylines and things like that. And if Undertaker wins, Austin does not get another title shot for the WWF Championship. So this is one of my favorite pay-per-views from the Attitude Era. It's Fully Loaded 99. It's one hell of a show. Got Triple H and The Rock, Acolytes versus the Hardys, the rights to the DX name. So they were trying to move Triple H up in the main event scene and kind of get rid of DX for the time being while still kind of marketing it. So Buffalo, New York, we had 16,605 in attendance. JR and the King on commentary. Before we get to the pay-per-view itself, we see clips from Sunday Night Heat with The Undertaker busting Stone Cold wide open. And hey, how's it going, everyone in the chat? Hope y'all can make it in. How's everyone doing? And we see a Michael Cole interview with Mr. McMahon leading into our first match for the Intercontinental Championship. Edge defending against Double J Jeff Jarrett. Edge actually won the title at a house show in Skydome, Toronto, Canada, in his hometown, so that was really cool. You don't see a lot of IC title changes at house shows, so that was really cool, especially for Edge to win it in his hometown. This was a good back and forth match, great opener here. Several near falls for Edge. Gangrel makes an appearance. They do the lights on and off with the bloodbath. Edge actually dodges the bloodbath because he was a former member of the Brood at this point. Dodges the bloodbath. They show the blood all over the floor. And Edge is actually distracted by Deborah and the puppies. And he gets a interruption from Gangrel. Jeff Jarrett hits his version of the skull-crushing finale. 1, 2, 3. We got a new Intercontinental Champion, Jeff Jarrett. So I believe this was Jarrett's 4th or 5th reign now as IC champ. I believe he would win one more time after this, becoming a 6-time IC champ. So they gave Edge the title for a night, whatever. I don't think it hurt anything, but you know, they were probably just, you know, trying it out, seeing how Edge would do with the title, seeing if it moved any needles whatsoever. You know, it's hard to really tell with a day title reign like this, but immediately after the match, the glass breaks. Stone Cold comes darting down to the ring. This is one of the most entertaining things of the night. Stunner to Jeff Jarrett. He gets on the horn, calling out the Undertaker, saying, "You will be busted open before this night is over." And he wasn't talking about the match. He was gonna look for Undertaker backstage and bust him open himself. So Austin has been busted open on Sunday Night Heat. He's got a bandage on his forehead. They might have done this the night before. It's really hard to tell with these kind of things. Um, they could have just put a bandage on his head and put a little red food coloring on it. But this was cool, really fun. Second match of the night is for the WWF Hardcore or WWF Tag Team Championships. 3 versus 2 Acolyte rules. The Hardys and Michael Hayes versus the Acolytes, Farouk, Bradshaw. And the Hardys are the tag champs coming in. All-time Hulk fan, what's going on, guys? DVD Dawson, everyone's here. Hope everyone can make it in for episode 26. So, this is Acolyte rules. So, the Hardys won the tag titles about 3 weeks before this on an episode of Raw, defeating the Acolytes. APA Acolytes, they were a big deal in this time. One of my favorite tag teams. So this one starts outside the ring when these guys are just going to town. They got the stairs out. They're beating down Michael Hayes with the stairs. The Hardys go for the poetry in motion, hit a swanton for 2. Farouk hits the Dominator for a 2 count. Wrestling Watson, what's up? Hope everyone's doing good on this Monday morning. They hit a twist of fate for a 2 count. Michael Hayes is outside with the cane. He gets a nice cane shot in. Bradshaw with a huge clothesline. They go for a double power bomb on Michael Hayes. 3 count. We got new tag team champions, the Acolytes. And these guys would be fairly dominant for the next month or so. I believe they ended up losing the titles to X-Pac and Kane, who are one of my favorite tag champs. Fairly underrated team. 2 guys that were kind of just thrown together and given the tag titles and did some pretty cool stuff with it. So before this next match, we also see Stone Cold backstage once again, searching for The Undertaker. I love how they do this stuff. I always talk about this, seeding storylines and, making everything kind of make sense. Austin says he's going to look for Taker. After the match, let's have him looking for Taker. Looks good. Third match of the night for the European Championship. D'Lo Brown versus the champion Mideon. So this is where Mideon kind of goes in Shane McMahon's bag, picks up the European title, and calls himself the European champion. D'Lo Brown had been out for a few months, I believe with an injury. He dropped a bunch of weight around this time. And D'Lo Brown looks good. He wasn't ever one of my favorites, but he was a guy I enjoyed watching quite a bit. And D'Lo Brown seemed pretty mad about this, How can you go in someone's bag, call yourself a champion? This was a decent match. D'Lo hits the sky high and the low down for the 3 count. And we got new European champion. This is 3 title matches, 3 title changes. Not looking too good for the champions going into this show. So excuse me 1 minute. Let's grab our morning coffee here. So I always loved WWF pay-per-views. A lot of title changes month after month. You never knew what to expect. This is deep into the Russo era here, so you can always expect craziness. And I know a lot of people give Russo a lot of hate. I'm one of the rare guys that I enjoy Russo, Bischoff, Heyman, Cornette. I enjoy all their takes on wrestling. I enjoy a wide variety. It's always good to look up different guys, check out different guys' opinions, things like that. So, fourth match of the night for the Hardcore Championship. So they are just banging out all these title matches early on in the show because we have two awesome main events. So Al Snow defending the Hardcore title versus the Big Boss Man. Um, I like Al Snow. I love Ray Trailer, Big Boss Man. This feud was just doomed from the beginning, and it would get worse as the year moved on. So Al Snow is carrying Head, who has a giant spike through the head, and he's got like a sock wrapped around the head as well. So Head had been going through rough times at this point. Um, so this match starts in the aisle, goes backstage. Al Snow tosses a coffee pot on the Big Boss Man. They go through suplexing through some tables. They're using a floor scrubber, which is a big fail here because they can't even get the thing started. They end up going outside. Bossman handcuffs Al to a kind of gated fence here. 1, 2, 3. He pins him on the fence. We got a new hardcore champion, the Big Boss Man. I believe this was either his second or third run as hardcore champ. So up to this point, this is only like an hour or so into this event, which goes around 3 hours. I would say up to this point, very entertaining show. Like I said, this is fully loaded 99. Always been one of my favorites. Fifth match of the night. This is where the show goes downhill for a little bit. Big Show versus Kane with special referee Hardcore Bob Holly. This was a very quick match. It's mostly Big Show in the beginning. We see a big clothesline, chokeslam, and Hardcore Holly hits a chop block on Kane. Big Show hits a chokeslam to Kane. Very quick 3 count. And Kane is going after Hardcore Holly. Big Show and Kane going at it. We see a run-in by X-Pac. Taker ends up running down. Big Show and Undertaker decimate Kane and X-Pac. And this is really the whole start of the Kane X-Pac kind of formation or tag team duo. They had been allies throughout the earlier part of 99 up until this point, and Taker would be kind of phased out of the main event scene and teamed with Big Show for a few months. Before this next match starts, Austin. Once again, we see Austin backstage. And he busts Taker wide open backstage from ear to ear. Taker's big old head busted wide open. He just attacks him backstage. A lot of weapons backstage, as you guys all know. And this is not looking good for Undertaker leading into the main event. We got just 4 more matches to go here. 6th match of the night, an Iron Circle match. This could be known as a parking lot brawl. Pretty much is, Ken Shamrock versus Steve Blackman. These guys really never had the best chemistry. We would see Blackman more in the hardcore division in about a year or so after this. Ken Shamrock would be gone from WWF around a month or 2 later. So this is a unsanctioned parking lot brawl. Outside the cars and that, you got Prince Albert, Draws. I believe you had Sergeant Slaughter, Viscera, Midian, Val Venus, The Godfather. And if you look closely, you could see a young Kurt Angle there, just sitting on one of the cars, standing around. So these guys are just smashing cars up. They got a tire iron. Ken Shamrock ends up choking out Blackman with a chain. There's really no referee. There's no pin submissions, nothing like that. Yeah, that's gonna be at SummerSlam the next month. The Lions Den match, SummerSlam '99. They only did a couple of those Lion Den matches. Let's see here. Yeah, Lions Den weapons match. I always liked that Lions Den match. I'm surprised they never tried to bring something like that back for Lesnar or anyone else. I was a fan of it. It's different. I think they did it in the theater section. They did it in the Garden the year prior, Madison Square Garden, SummerSlam '98. It was cool. They did it at SummerSlam '98 and SummerSlam '99, so they could have made it a SummerSlam tradition. But Shamrock wins by chokeout. Nothing really to the match. It's just a parking lot brawl. Pretty tough matches to do because you're not working on false finishes or kind of crowd reactions. This was probably pre-taped, and then Ken Shamrock kind of just walks out of the parking lot the victor. Nothing really to it. Seventh match of the night. It's going to be the rights to DX, Billy Gunn and China versus the Road Dogg and X-Pac. I thought this was a decent match. I don't really think they had much chemistry together as opponents as they did as a team. Billy Gunn and China are wearing similar gear, and Billy Gunn, he just looks so weird. Billy Gunn won King of the Ring the month prior, and here he is in a match with China, Road Dogg, X-Pac. So this was whoever wins is going to get all of that royalty money and things like that, and be able to use the DX name in the future. So the weird thing about this is Jerry Lawler and Jim Ross actually bring up the fact that what about Triple H? What about Shawn Michaels? They were once leaders of DX. How come they're not getting any piece of this pie? So this was a pretty fun match, back and forth. And China, Billy Gunn, they're double teaming the Road Dogg. We see a nice jackhammer from Billy Gunn. X-Pac ends up getting the hot tag, and Billy Gunn hits a power slam on X-Pac. We see a Bronco Buster to China, pump handle slam to Billy Gunn for the 3 count, and X-Pac, Billy Gunn end up winning the rights to the DX name. And I think kind of X-Pac relied on this DX thing for a little bit too long, and they would call him out on it in future TV and things like that, where X-Pac's gear always said DX up until 2000, 2001, and there wasn't even a DX around at that point. So kind of weird how he always relied on that for a little bit too long, in my opinion. Eighth match of the night is going to be a fully loaded strap match, no disqualifications. The Rock, Triple H, #1 contenders match. And the winner is going to challenge the WWF champion at SummerSlam. This match goes about 20 minutes. Meltzer gives it about a 3.25 stars. I think that's a little bit harsh on the match because I loved it. This is a very good back and forth match, in and out of the ring. They go in the crowd. Rock hits a rock bottom early on. And China is back out here in this match as well. So we have the China distraction. Billy Gunn is out here as well, I believe. So Triple H is choking the Rock in the corner. Rock hits a nice Samoan drop for 2. And at this point, they go outside the ring. Triple H has the strap off, which should have been a disqualification, but it's no DQ. The Rock is whipping Triple H with the strap. We see a nice DDT, and Billy Gunn grabs a club, smashes it over the Rock for a 2 count. People's elbow. Billy Gunn pulls the Rock out. We see a rock bottom to Billy Gunn. Triple H ends up hitting the pedigree for the 3 count, and he's going to SummerSlam, the #1 contender. See what you guys are saying in the chat. Yeah, you know what? I'm not really the biggest fan of strap matches either, but overall, I think this one was put together fairly well. This wasn't the traditional strap match where you hit all 4 corners. This one was pinfall or submission only, so I guess that's kind of the difference in strap matches. You know, we've seen JBL, Eddie Guerrero had one. We've seen women in a lot of strap matches. Jerry Lawler has been famously in a lot of strap matches. You know, when they're done right, they're very good. When they're done wrong, they're poorly executed. I always like this match. Yeah, Sable and Luna probably not the best strap match to watch. So this is really the beginning of Triple H's main event rise. He would cut a promo on Sunday Night Heat around this time, calling himself the Game, saying, I don't need to be in a clique anymore. I don't need to be in DX anymore. I'm the Game. And he used a bit of profanity in there as well. So overall, I did like the strap match quite a bit. And then the main event for the World Wrestling Federation Championship, the First Blood end of an era match, Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Undertaker. And both guys had been busted open earlier on in the night. Undertaker comes to the ring with a towel over his head, trying to kind of knot that cut up a bit. And like I mentioned, if Austin wins, Mr. McMahon will no longer be involved in TV or anything like that, kayfabe, whatever. If Taker wins, Austin does not get another shot at the title. So they've recycled this before, you know, with the end of an era. But I believe this was one of the first times they've actually used it. So this one starts out hot. Austin did win the title the night after King of the Ring 99. This one starts in the aisle. They go in the crowd. Austin is well known for his matches going all over the arena, from the crowd to the stage, now announcer's desk, into the crowd, into the ring, all around the arena. And Taker throws the steps over the wall into the crowd. Austin starts working Taker's knee, and Taker sends Austin over the barricade, and Austin is dodging several chair shots. Shane McMahon does a run-in with a chair shot. Austin hits a stunner on The Undertaker. Austin gets the chair. X-Pac is running in here. He kicks the chair into Taker, and this is where Taker gets busted open again. Austin has a camera from the outside, hits The Undertaker. This is where Undertaker gets busted. Undertaker goes for the tombstone, and the referee finally sees the blood, calls for the bell. It's all over, and stunner to The Undertaker, stunner to the Vince. Triple H runs in with the Rock. Undertaker with a chair busting open Stone Cold, and they go back and forth outside. And before this, Austin gives a goodbye stunner to Mr. McMahon, because you're out of here, Vince. This is just chaos at the end. Here, all kinds of crazy stuff. You got Triple H, Rock, X-Pac, Shane, Taker, Vince, Austin. Craziness. Jack Vegetables is here. Shout out to him. Yeah, they always had a lot of interference in the main events. Remember No Mercy there, 99, a few months prior with the Kane, you had the Posse, Edge, Christian, the Brood, Mankind, just everyone who. um, Sometimes it worked, sometimes it was just way too much. In this case, I thought it worked. You know, Triple H had just won the strap match. He's the number one contender, so he's coming in. He was also part of the corporation, so trying to help Taker win. Undertaker just attacked X-Pac, so it kind of made sense for him to run in. They didn't always need to run-ins, but I do get your point. Overall, I did like the match. Meltzer's going to give it 3.25 stars. And for most of this match, Mr. McMahon is on commentary. After the pay-per-view, we see an exclusive promo by Triple H on Stone Cold saying that it's his time now. Austin, SummerSlam, he was going to take the title. So if you guys have any questions, let's get into it now, or any comments about the show overall. Overall, I think I give this one a pretty high rating. I'm going to go 8.5 out of 10. This has always been one of my favorites. One of the better Attitude Era pay-per-views. This one goes about 2 hours, 45 minutes. Yeah, Meltzer's ratings have always been lower towards WWE. It seems around this time they weren't giving him as much dirt as he wanted. You know, in the late 80s, early 90s, Meltzer had a very good connection with WWF, with Vince McMahon, with a lot of the guys. It seemed like, especially around this time, they were really trying to kind of cut all that out. You know, WCW had got a lot of guys from WWF with Hogan, Savage. The NWO had been on fire at this time, and it seemed like they didn't want to let anything out, especially to Meltzer, who was a dirt sheet reporter. And I think for that reason, he always had a grudge against WWE, WWF, WWE, and kind of shafted them in his own rating system. But I thought that was a hell of a first blood match. It really brings your interest up when both guys go into the match already busted open earlier in the night. Ryan Hadley says this was better than the 98 version of the one. The 98 felt like a house show with a huge main event. Yeah, so a fully loaded 98, it was Austin and Undertaker versus Mankind and Kane for the tag titles in the main event. Austin and Taker would win the tag titles, only to drop them a week or two later, whatever it was, maybe even the next night. Um, it was just a silly main event. I go back and forth with fully loaded 98 because I enjoy it, but only for a few matches. I like Triple H and Rock's 2 out of 3 falls match, and pretty much that's about it. I can't really remember much off the top. But fully loaded 99, it was well built. We wouldn't see Mr. McMahon on WWE TV until he was called out by Triple H. And, you know, it would be Shane McMahon who would be kind of running the show here with abuse of power. We would see Shawn Michaels return as the commissioner, on and off. You know, it would be Mr. McMahon winning the WWF title from Triple H just a couple of months later there in September 99. Yeah, I've always been a fan of these pay-per-view names like Fully Loaded, No Mercy, Unforgiven, Armageddon, No Way Out. I like some of the gimmick names, but some of them are just horrible. You know, when you have a pay-per-view like Fatal 4-Way, Over the Limit. The Elimination Chamber, Hell in a Cell matches, I don't like at times. just for the fact, it's coming. They're slowly building to a Hell in a Cell match. The one I do like is Elimination Chamber, because it's kind of like the Royal Rumble. You get a shot at WrestleMania. You can easily throw together six guys and make a good match out of it without any storylines going in. So that's why I kind of indifferent towards the pay-per-view names there. I've always liked King of the Ring. Wish they would have brought that back. After 2000, there would be no more Fully Loadeds. It was advertised for 2001, and then we got the Invasion, and then 2002, they started the Vengeance pay-per-views in July, along with Great American Bash. Which I always liked Great American Bash as a name. Some of the pay-per-views just fell short. So when was Vince Russo in WWF? He was in WWF up until October 99. So we have about 2 or 3 more shows with Russo. We got SummerSlam in August, September, Unforgiven, and his last show was No Mercy 99, October. After that, Vince Russo is gone. Russo was mainly a magazine writer in the mid to late 90s. And I think he slowly became part of the creative team into maybe 96, 97, more so in 98 and 99. You could probably tell by watching the product when Russo was more involved. If you ask Russo himself, he'll tell you he was there since 1985. But honestly, I think Russo was there as a head of creative from probably late 97, early 98, if I had to guess correctly. And he would leave, October of 99. Next question. Who's here? Wrestling Watson. Yeah. So Bruce Pritchard always said Vince hated King of the Ring because it didn't sell well. So typically the business takes a nosedive after WrestleMania and into the summer. June, July, May, June, July are typically off months for wrestling or sports in general. So I always liked King of the Ring. It sucks Vince didn't like it. Maybe they could have promoted it better, I think, or had some decent winners. When you have a guy like Mabel winning your King of the Ring, Austin, he was a good King of the Ring. It also looks at the buildings they ran there too. They ran Milwaukee. When you run a Milwaukee in June of 96, I don't think you're really gonna sell well. 97, I can't remember where it was off the top, but 98 they did Pittsburgh, the Mellon Arena. We had a Hell in a Cell match, Undertaker versus Mankind. So it's like any sport. You have your on and off months. I'm not for the off season of wrestling, but I think it could definitely benefit from even rotations. Give a guy a month or two off here and there. Or book guys every other week, or 3 weeks on, 1 week off, 3-1, 3-1, and you have a group of guys rotating on and off differently. Your cards and your product will appear much differently. You have one guy going every other week. You have one guy going 3 weeks, 1 week. You have one guy going 3 to 5 weeks on, 2 weeks off. Your product will be much differently. Yeah, that was about 10 years ago now. With Vince McMahon was about to get rid of the Survivor Series, think that was either 2009 or 2010. And I don't know what changed his mind or what happened there, but Survivor Series almost got the axe. Survivor Series was the second longest running pay-per-view in WWE after WrestleMania. It started in 1987. I don't know if, Vince just got bored of it one day and said, we're gonna get rid of the Survivor Series and then we're gonna have bragging rights. If they did something like that with bragging rights, I think I'd be fine with it, since that's what it's turned into. Or maybe Vince just had a rough day at work. So we're gonna wrap it up now, guys. Thanks everyone who watched. Episode 27 will be WWF SummerSlam 1999 from Minneapolis, Minnesota. We got Austin, Triple H, and Mankind in the main event, with Governor Ventura as a special guest referee. For your information, guys, this is the first pay-per-view I ever watched live, so it's going to be a fun one to go back and watch, and really fun to check out overall. Hope you guys enjoyed the stream. As always, we'll talk to you later. Peace.